Well, Chelsey, obviously our first ever Facebook Live started out with a really epic fail, so that's awesome, right? And that was kind of what this whole thing was about. We wanted it to be authentic. We've had so many people reach out to ask for tips, seeing us through LinkedIn and Facebook, and some of the successes that we've been able to have through this remote work environment. But you and I both know that's accurate, that we've had both some successes and some failures throughout this process. And so, the goal would be here just to share a little bit about what we've learned, hopefully, and give kind of a peek behind the curtain to those that are watching PKT and have questions of kind of what we're doing. And we want to start with the first part was like, just going into our strategy or kind of our plan, when this whole thing started to happen.
Yeah, I think planning is really the first start of the foundation of going to a mobile workforce and making sure that we do have people that are right in the head culturally. There's a lot going on right now, and so we want to be true to our core values and our vision, but also to allow work to look a little different. So kind of backing up, there's two real components to working mobile. There's one, the technology itself, but two, how do you keep people mentally sound? How do you keep them motivated? How do you keep them productive, especially when we're seeing a lot of positions with a lot less work? And it's scary. So managing mobility is half the battle. We started a couple of weeks earlier than the rest of the businesses that we've spoken to in Springfield, based on kind of looking at some of the states that were impacted first and kind of looking at the sky falling kind of on the coast and saying, how do we get ahead of this in case this trickles down to the Midwest? Because like fashion, normally things hit us a little bit after the fact. So we really looked hard, and Lee and I we sat through a lot of meetings. So do you want to talk a little bit about what we tried to come up with?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, one of the benefits for us was that we were able to look at what was going on East Coast, West Coast. In fact, you, I, and your father were both at the West Coast, like, the week it was hitting, so yeah, right. So when we got back, I mean, we kind of had some insight, seeing how those things were changed. And so the first thought was, we had to communicate, right? We had to be very intentional about the way that we were going to work with people in our organization, how we were going to communicate what we were doing, and moving forward with that. So I think
I hear so many. I've sat through lots of podcasts, lots of blogs, things like that, and I constantly hear everybody saying, "Oh, the first thing that you've got to do is over communicate."
Yep.
I think that maybe talking about what we define as over communicating looks like would be important, because
Yeah.
it's kind of become a buzzword as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, one of the funny things is I love like that. Like, of course, we had our generic like COVID-19, email that had to go out to the organization, but we knew that wasn't going to be enough. I mean, so one of the great things about our culture and our organization is that, again, kind of from the beginning, there's been a transparency that's there. In fact, that's one of the things that our core values is being transparent. So we were very transparent, not only talking about COVID-19, but talking about the fact that like people were worried. They were afraid that they're going to lose their jobs, that they're going to go on furlough. And so, multiple times over the course of those first few weeks, we're like, that's not our intention. That's not our plan. Our plan is to keep you busy. Our plan is to keep you working. Our plan is to find unique ways to do that with your managers and your leaders. And that's exactly what we did. We started, asking them, hey, if tomorrow, no service calls show up, no tickets show up, no sales orders are here, nothing to be processed. Like, what are trainings? What are things we can be doing? Who do you back up? Because most organizations, and we're definitely one of those, when you're busy and things are moving, there's always things that you'd like to do, that bucket list things that are important, but like don't take priority over your day-to-day job. And so we were able to build those checklists for that. And I think that was huge.
Pause you right there, because I love what you just said. And I think one of, as we're talking through successes and failures, and we've had a lot of failures, I did feel like reaching out to the organization and asking them for their input was
Yep.
one of our bigger successes, because we started with the department heads, frankly, and they told us what they thought their department or position should be doing. And we got a lot of really good feedback. But when we opened it up to the actual individuals, um, we got so much better feedback, more buy-in, but also just more specific information on projects and things that they wanted to see, than we could have ever come up with on our own, or the other leaders in the organization. So I was super proud to see everyone pull together with content there.
Yeah, and we obviously just got creative with it too. Like you said, like not everything was super awesome or super thought out whenever we launched it, right? I mean, there were some things that we quick triggered, but one of the things that we did that went really well was finding new ways to communicate. And so like one of the first things is, we're obviously recording this on Teams because we had the issue with Facebook Live. Well, we recognized like if we're going to make this happen remote, we got to get everyone on the same format. And so, I know you kind of led up that who's not on it, and let's get it ordered and get it launched and get it downloaded immediately. And we didn't stop there. We then utilized our own internal trainer, or external trainer, to then train our employees internally to make sure they were comfortable. And again, this is a week to 2 weeks before we're having to go home and work remote. So we were able to get those things kind of dialed in and trained in up front. And that's a testament, not necessarily to our planning or our stuff, just some of the awesome people we have here and how they dove right in and were able to help us, make those things happen.
Totally agreed.
Well, I know one of the other things that we wanted to talk about, you've kind of hinted at it a little bit, was the execution. Like, how were we going to go from a business that probably, at least 50%, maybe a little more than that, are used to showing up in an office, working in there, doing that, and probably 80 or 90% of them are doing it, on a daily basis, maybe not staying there all day, but just used to that environment. Like, what did we do? How did that operate? Like, what were your thoughts on kind of how we went about that?
Yeah, so it was super scary, because when you come from, as you mentioned, an office to where we do have some positions that are outbound and doing the majority of their work in supporting our clients. While one, we're seeing that type of effort be reduced overnight by 50 to 60% because of businesses closing or shutting down during this time. So you've got that to deal with. But then you also have people that, their serotonin is people, and
Mm.
going around and meeting face to face and not really forced into this type of platform. How do we make sure that we don't have people mentally into a state of depression, or just reducing the communication, because things get lost in translation, frankly, when you are under one roof. So now you're putting everybody under an individual roof. I mean, it's mind blowing. So I think that we tried to be
Well,
very
one thing
intentional.
on that, one of the funny things about that, no, one thing on that that's so funny too is like you have to do all those things, but then we have leaders that all have different capacities, that have all been leading for different time frame. We've got people who've been doing it for 10 plus years. We got people that's been doing it for, less than 10 months. I mean,
Yeah.
the group that we were going to hand, how are you going to do this with your teams? Like, we had to build something that was generic enough that anyone could grab it, understand it and take it to their team and their group. Like, because each group is a little different in the way that they handle their day to days. So that also added that like when you're talking about you trying to get that communication, man, that alone added kind of a lot of stress and pressure to trying to figure it out. Even asking ourselves, can we do that? Like, can that be done?
Yeah, with the goal of wanting to keep everyone employed, we communicated that to them, but said, hey, this is a two-way street. Like, we have to come together as a team. So our intent as leadership is to keep everybody's jobs, regardless of your position. But
Mm.
now we've really got to come and be mindful about how we're going to do that. And so the check-ins that we do every morning from 8:30 to Lee's point speak to what that's about, and how we try to get a generic, consistent measure in place in order to to work with the 10-month old leaders and the 10-year leaders, and keeping everything as consistent as possible.
Yeah, I really don't have a good answer for where it came up from. Like, I whenever as a sales manager, whenever I had new reps, I built a generic sheet that was just an Excel doc that basically said, hey, it's Monday through Friday, and here's 8 to 5 every day. And like, I want to know kind of what we're planning to do. And I wanted to help them. Like, that was the goal. It wasn't necessarily just you have to know exactly what you're doing, because they don't. Like, that's okay. I just want, my job as a leader is to help you then if you look and go, man, I'm not really sure. Like, if I don't have a call come in today, what is my priority? Like, what should I be doing? Like, if there's no payables to process, like, what do you want me to work on? Who do you want me backing up for? Like, where are the other parts of the business that need help? And so that's really where that came from. And so the goal was every morning managers could look at basically kind of a quick snapshot in Excel, just, hey, what are you planning for today? And some of our positions, being sales reps or maybe even service technicians or support people, they may even have half their day already booked for them before they start the day, because they've got calls, they've got things that they can do. But it was, hey, if those things don't happen, like, what's your plan? Like, how are you going to be able to, what could you do if all those calls go away tomorrow? And that way a manager could help them understand, hey, this is really what I want you working on. The other benefit with that, and the goal was, and we're seeing it start to happen, was that then people from that team could actually pitch in, because even as a manager, sometimes you can get kind of out of touch with, like, is that training even a good one? It's for a rep, but I never did it, and I assume it's good because their content's good. Well, then all of a sudden someone else will chime in and be like, that training's a waste of time. Don't do it. Like, bail and try this one, though. This one's really, really great, and it's about the same amount of time. Like, that was the goal. And so you can learn so much from each other. It's not just a leader doing it, but all of the organization kind of working together in that facet.
And real quick, going back to the Excel documents,
Yeah.
touch on the fact of where those are housed and how we have how we basically bypassed chasing a bunch of like emails back and forth, and kind of how we executed that.
Yeah, so we basically we have an accountability chart. Most organizations do, and so we tried to mirror exactly that breakdown. So essentially, what there is there's a folder that says Pearson-Kelly in OneDrive. Underneath that, our organization breaks into really 4 categories: marketing, sales, finance, and operations. And then inside of that, it breaks down into the specific departments or teams, if you will. And so what happens then is I just share those folders, and inside of there, they can replicate those Excel documents and just name them the current employee's name. So that way, then we can easily go in there and see them. You can see what you need to see from an entire organization standpoint. So can I. And then department leaders can actually see all the way throughout their department, which is nice. I will say this. I failed at that right off the bat. We found out very quickly that you can't just do it. You also have to be able to give people access to edit. So that was a kind of a flop on my end, but a great learning experience. And so we got that corrected and done, and now we learned some things, which was great. So, but yeah, that was kind of a learning experience in itself.
Yes. I know another failure that we talked about was kind of how we rolled out the check-ins.
Mm.
If you touch on what we learned along that first week, but then maybe also how we have them organized today.
Yeah. So, and it's tough because it was twofold. You and I mean, you can basically ratchet strap everything down and say, this is exactly how it has to be. And that first week, we really didn't want to do that. What our goal was just to launch them and get people meeting. But there was really no.
I said with their cameras on. We
Yeah,
also
with their cameras on. Right. Everyone was just going to use Teams every morning at 8 a.m. and they were gonna check in. And and some were more productive than others. Some people really didn't know what to do with that. Like, okay, great, we're here. And so we very quickly were like, oh my goodness, we've got to create something that gives them some structure. And so what I did, and we did, was we kind of prepared a document that said, hey, there's really 3 phases to this meeting every morning we want to do. And so the first is a check-in. And the goal for that check-in is to start it off in a positive note. So we love to start it with a great opportunity. And it doesn't mean all your answers are going to be positive. Just as a leader, your job is to try to turn it that way. And so each day, ideally, we're starting with a different question. It's very specific, and it gives everyone in your group an opportunity to respond. So each person gets that chance, which is great. Secondly, we're going to check in on your plan for the day. And depending on your position, we're going to look at what was your log for the day before, because we actually ask certain positions to log their information from the day. And that's, again, that manager's chance to go, hey, what's going on here? Oh, I see that you don't have 2 hours scheduled. Can we get that booked? With something here, here's a great suggestion, that kind of thing. And then the last piece of it is always, we want to end with a quote, potentially maybe want something from Pearson-Kelly, like our mission statement, or core value statement, or one of my favorites is a challenge. I love ending on challenges. I love pushing people to go, hey, what can we do today? Like, what's one thing that we can rock today that's gonna tip us forward? And so that's my personal favorite one. But again, that's the three pieces. There's a check-in, there's a hey, what's our plan look like, and then a challenge or some type of hey, this is something you should do today, or something to a positive note to end on. And that's it. And some of them take all 30 minutes, and some of them take 15 minutes, and some of them are all over the map. But that's great. That's each of them being themselves, and kind of the in between. Each one is different, which is great.
Yeah. What happens if somebody shows up with a blank daily plan? Do we address it as a leader in that moment?
No. So I think the goal is, and what we've talked to our team about is that group setting is not a shame setting. So you never want to turn that into that. That's not fair. That's not right. And you never know why someone shows up with that. So the first thing is hey, I see you kind of struggled with this one today. Like, let's just stay afterwards. I want you to start working on it while, whenever we're done, and I'm going to help you. And so it's that leader's job then to help them, because again, you never know why someone didn't do it. They may have personal things going on in life that came up. Well, you need to be fair. And they also may just be going, I don't know what to do. And it's probably embarrassing for them to have that pull up. So you need to recognize that. Say, hey, not a big deal. We'll address it at the end of it, and I'll help you come up with not only today, but maybe we can start working on tomorrow's too, just to help you get prepared.
Love it. There's been so many growth opportunities through just these daily check-ins.
Our team's done such an awesome job. I mean,
it's all way, frankly. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned competition. Talk about how we've tried to implement some fun internal competitions just to kind of keep things thriving.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, we have our happy hour every day where people dress up and do different things, and that has turned into its own version of competition, no doubt, because people want to see how far they can take it, which is awesome. But in the sales department, obviously, right now, people are afraid to spend their cash. I mean, no doubt, we want to be very respectful for that, but we also want to keep our team employed, and so we need them driving into other things. Touching base with people doesn't mean we're selling something. Even just helping. We have a ton of resources and a knowledge base that can be very useful for a ton of people. And so that's something we want to be able to pass along to others, and we'll continue to kind of do that. So to do that, what we did is we launched myself and our sales manager, Darius, are having a little competition with a couple teams where the loser at the end of it, the opposing team gets to pick your hairstyle. And there is a mohawk. There is the buzz cut, just complete buzz, or I think everyone's favorite, which is the old man cut. And so that's just where we take just this piece right here, and the rest of it's done. And so it's a 2-week piece, and so they'll be calling people and reaching out and emailing and stuff. And again, it's not necessarily making sales; it's more just about touching base with people, staying active, updating our CRM, and making sure all that information is accurate. So we're getting a lot done that needs to be done and cleaned up, and making them utilize that time in a good way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's one thing, happy hour, the virtual happy hour each day that you touched on. We've gotten so much positive feedback from that, and it really was just kind of a random middle of the night thought of how we could engage at the end of every day. So we have the beginning check-in, we have some internal competition that keeps people connected. We're really trying to utilize the opportunity for training and getting caught up in certain areas that we've not had the time for in the past. And then connecting as a group. I think that the more community feel of that end of the day happy hour check-in, where we've got all the teams connecting. It has grown into kind of organically the dress off competition. We're kind of changing up what we're reporting, but it's really just a round robin to end the day on a positive note. And I think the biggest compliment I've received from that was somebody that's probably more adverse to that type of thing. And I got a text that said, I feel more connected to the company than when we were all under one roof. Love this. It's been so fun getting to know different personalities. The barriers of different
Yeah.
departments feel like they've been lifted.
Yep.
And we've just really had the opportunity, like unbeknownst to us, to grow as a team. So lots of failures. We're going to have lots more. But I think the goal is that as we have these little nuggets, we're going to try to reach out and talk through success, failures, things that have worked well for us, and things that we're learning. So we'll have lots of content.
Love it. Totally agree.
Thank you so much, Lee.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.